Uniformed Services University of Health and Science, known as USUHS, is conducting a study to understand a possible genetic link between sickle cell trait, known as SCT, and exercise-related events, known as EREs, such as exertional rhabdomyolysis, muscle damage, heat stroke, and or collapse. We are inviting African American men and women with sickle cell trait and their family members to participate. Participating in the study will require you to complete a health history questionnaire, a form authorizing our study physician to gather health information from you and your healthcare provider, as well as a one-time blood donation. In order to qualify for the study, you must meet the following criteria: be African American, be sickle cell trait positive, be able to read, speak, and understand English, be between the ages of 18 and 80, and currently not being treated for any mental or psychological disorders. Participation is completely voluntary, and your decision will not impact your healthcare. The results for this study are for research purposes only and are not intended to directly benefit any individual for confidentiality reasons. However, the results of this study are intended to help better shape policies and associated health risks affecting the SCT community. Participants may be compensated for their time. To join the study, or if you would like additional information regarding the study, please contact the study team by phone, area code 240-479-9514, or email sctstudy-ggg@usuhs.edu.
The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, good evening. Welcome to a special edition of Trench Talk. I'm your host, Farron, aka WDC. And I want to thank you for listening in. This is a very important show for me because this is my own personal therapy. This is what I found as I was retiring from the military 5 years ago. I found that sharing stories is so important and healing. And so Trench Talk had bounced in my mind, I kid you not, for about most of my career. Since I joined in 1989, so for 20 plus years, I had this vision of Trench Talk, and we would be sitting out on these maneuvers at like 11 o'clock at night when everybody is asleep, sitting under our trucks, just talking about just coming off doing a log pack run or delivering supplies, and we would just be sitting out just talking under the stars, and this Trench Talk thing just kept popping in my head, and I never knew what it was going to be at the time. It was just something that I knew that was something that was significant and important to me. And, years later, I end up creating a radio show, a talk show out of it, and had a lot of great adventures, a lot of shows I've done with this, and had shelved it for a little bit, but we're back. So again, this is a special edition, very important topic. So I interview all different era of veterans, from World War II up until today. We talk about their background, their experiences before, during, after military service. But also, if you have a resource that you want to share that helps our veterans or their family members, I talk about that on the show as well. Children of veterans are more than welcome. Like if you're connected to that veteran, and how important that is, because a lot of people think that when you say veteran, that term has been desensitized. So you say veteran and it's like, it's PTSD and all these other things that a veteran may deal with, but you forget that we're people. You forget that there's people connected to these veterans. There's children, there's parents, there's aunts and uncles. And so when you say veteran, that's a lot of people connected to that soldier. And so I just wanted to be able to have a platform where we can come and share, have a related conversation. Doesn't matter what age, what branch. You're going to find out I got a Marine here sitting across from me. And this edition is, again, very important because we're going to talk about his life before, during, and after service and what he's up to. So I'm just going to get started. If you want information, Twitter is at Trench Talk US. Instagram, same as Trench Talk US. Just look it up. Website is trenchtalk.us. Everything Trench Talk. So if you want to reach out, you want to be a guest in the future, make sure you just hit me up and follow social media, and I appreciate it. So we're going to get started, right? So my man came all the way from Arizona, right? So this is local, like crazy local, but this guy came all the way from Arizona. Man, I don't even know what to say about you, man. Introduce yourself, man, so we can get started.
Man, it's a blessing to be here, first of all, and I appreciate you. You know, my name is Richard R.C. Thompson. I'm one of the featured combat veterans in the documentary Unshattered Redemption, being produced by No Way Out Films, Michael Butler, and John Williams in association with Angel of Music Productions. And 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines is who I fought with, Task Force Ripper, Desert Storm. We lost one of our brothers over there that didn't come home. So being exposed to some things that humans shouldn't be exposed to for long periods of time, it affects everybody in different ways. And the PTSD did affect me in a negative way for the longest time.
So let's go back in time, man. You know, who was Richard, man, growing up in your environment, man? Who was the little guy, Richard?
Oh man, I'm a native of Arizona, born and raised in Chandler, and I was a little shy, ugly kid. You know, thought I was good in sports, but wasn't good enough to get any paper. You know, do 15 countries like some people we done met, and so you know, I was, you know, I got into my fair share of trouble. Got the tag, troublemaker, hoodlum, thug, or whatever. Yeah. So just searching for what I wanted to do in life, and then
so in this search, how did the Marine? How did that come about? Being a Marine.
Well, you know what, being that, you know, I'm from the projects and from the neighborhood where you want to get a chance to change your legacy, and that's what I wanted to do.
So you saw something after all of that.
Yeah. I saw an opportunity. You know, I needed to do something. I wanted to change the makeup of what the men in my family have put out there. Okay. So, you know, I joined the Marine Corps. Like I said, I knew I wasn't going to be able to get a scholarship in football, basketball, and I didn't want to go to college because I really don't like school. I said, I want to keep going to school. So I went ahead and.
So why the Marines?
You know, the best branch. I knew he was going to ask. I knew the Army host was going to ask that question. See, my uncle was Army, my dad was Army, and I was cocky and wanted to outdo them. Okay. So I picked the Marine Corps because it was, at the time, it was the only branch that nobody in my family had served under, and I'm still, I think, the only Marine. No wonder. You know, I had my niece, my cousin went in after I got out, right? She went Navy. She's about 20 years. She's like, I watched my cousin, so
she's smart.
I'm going to join this branch. But
So what was the process? I mean, you know, how old were you when you decided to join the Marine Corps? And then
I was 18. It was my senior year, so I knew I had to do something because my mom was already making threats, talking about you're not just gonna be laying up on my couch not doing nothing, right? Because she already knew I wasn't going to school, right? So I knew, you know, I was gonna have to do something or be homeless because she was gonna put me out.
18,
18, you gotta go. So I just came home one day. And actually, I think I was around 17 and a half because I remember I had to get her permission. Oh, because she didn't know. She didn't know what the Marine Corps was. She didn't know, you know, and I surprised her. I said, "Mommy, you told me I had to do something." So I went and I met with a recruiter. She said, "You did what?" I said, "I met with a Marine Corps recruiter. I just need your signature." She said, "Boy, I ain't signed." I said, "You said I got to do something." So I'm going to go in the military. And she finally signed for me, and I was on the delayed entry program and everything. Okay. And, you know, October of 89, I came to California. I'm a Hollywood Marine. Did my boot camp in San Diego, so
we all know about the yellow feet.
Yeah, right? the yellow footprints. They write books about the yellow footprints, man.
What happened when you put your feet in the yellow footprints?
Man, I'm having flashbacks right now. Once you put your feet, and everybody knows, all the veterans out there, they know what we're talking about. Once you put your feet on those yellow footprints, it's hell to pay. You can forget it. Ain't no going back. Changes. There's no, woo. Big change.
So what was it like for you? You know, you're in your platoon. You know, you got guys from all across the country, and you're sharing this space. What was that? Was that a culture shock for you?
Yeah, it was big time culture shock because the time that you have to learn and adjust is not a lot.
Not a lot.
Because you already know, for those individuals, boots, because we're boots. When you first get to your unit, you're a boot. I think you got about a couple weeks to make the adjustment. And if you don't make that adjustment, then the dwindling.
We help make
yeah,
it for you.
another process starts where you either going home or it's going to be a long 4 years for you, or however long you're going to be in. So you got to make that adjustment.
Do you remember? I know for myself, there was a point where about a few weeks into boot camp, I was laying my bunk one night, and I was looking at the mattress springs above me because I had the bottom bunk, and I'm looking up at there, and I'm like, man, like, what am I doing here? Like, did you have one of those moments, man?
You know what? I had a good flashback last night. I guess I can call it a good flashback because, I'm out here in Hollywood, L.A. and everything, and I did my boot camp in San Diego. So where I was at in the barracks, like you talk about, you had the guy above you. Yeah. I was the guy above. Right. I was on top. And so I had a good view out of the window, out of the barracks of the San Diego airport.
Oh,
and those planes just going back to Phoenix. Yeah. And I'd be crying. What the hell did I do? What, join the Marine Corps? I didn't even know what the Marine Corps was.
Yeah.
I just wanted to dress blues.
Yeah.
And that sword. So last night, I was getting ready to go to sleep, turn off the TV. I opened up the blinds and everything, and I could see that L.A. plane just taking off. I'm not in prison right now, though. I can get to go to the bathroom right now if I want to. I can go get me a burger, But, yeah, it reminded me of that boot camp.
Yeah.
And but those are memories that you keep for life.
They never go away,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, they
give me your most memorable experience in boot camp. I mean, I know we get smoked. I mean, I know there's so many different things that happen in those weeks, man. What do you remember the most about?
Oh, man. You know what? I remember, I think the most memorable thing for me in boot camp, it was a couple things because it let me know, like you said with the yellow footprints, it let me know what I had gotten into. Mm-hmm. There was this Marine, this brother from San Diego, Davis. And, he's local, so he's just, if he can get over that fence.
Oh, he's trying to go home.
Yeah, it's home. Yeah, you already know where I'm going with this. But it wasn't, he wasn't missing home. He was missing Jody. He was missing girlfriend.
Oh,
and he was worried about Jody. So the funniest thing, man, we're asleep and we just hear the drill instructors banging on the trash cans, turn on the light, yelling and cussing. Oh, what the hell? Who the hell is waking me up? And it was the MPs. Well, Davis had snuck out in his underwear, man, made it over the fence.
Are you kidding?
And was heading home to see his baby, and they called him. So they brought him handcuffed in his underwear and woke up the drill instructor. And man, we was up till I think about 4 a.m. playing. Because the drill instructor, it came out in his underwear too. They woke him up, the MPs and stuff. And you already know, knowing what we know now, I wish I would have heard that conversation with the MPs going, oh yeah, let's go wake up the drill instructor.
Bad deal.
Yeah, let's wake up the drill instructor and take this recruit.
Bad deal. What was it like for you in that transition from civilian to military mindset? Do you
Ooh, man, that's a great question because I'm still making that transition. I was one of those gung-ho Marines ready to kill or die. All the anger and rage that was in me, I was ready and willing to use it for the greater good of my country. Mm-hmm. So when everything was done and said, and I get out, I still got that mentality and that same attitude, and that scares the hell out of civilians.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, and I didn't. I'm not gonna say that I didn't understand. I didn't want to understand. I didn't want to let that Marine Corps complete lifestyle go.
Yeah.
But at the age of 47, I had to come to realize that as far as that aggression goes, I had to deal with it. My brothers in the military accept it.
Yeah.
It doesn't scare them. It's funny because they know what it's about.
Yeah.
But I had to address the issue that, even that sometimes my relatives, my girlfriend, friends, it takes them to a place where they're not comfortable.
Yeah. You know, the Marine Corps, we know you guys are a very special branch. We know that your level of training and the level of dialogue and all that, we know that you guys are special.
Move that mountain.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to the new Marines that are venturing off into this new world, man? What do you want to say to them?
Oh man. I want to say to the new Marines, just simplify and keep doing what you're doing. But, you know, the job that we do or the commitment that we make isn't easy.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing I would have changed thinking about it now is the preparation getting out.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out.
Yeah.
You know, I was at the point to where I was done with Desert Storm. I just wanted to hurry up and get out, but I didn't think about anything that would come with me trying to make that transition, and I was not prepared, and that was culture shock.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like people didn't care about me, people didn't love me. You know, family, friends, I felt like people were just turning on me, and I didn't realize that I had so much to work on.
Yeah.
To try and, you know.
And one of the things about the military I spent 24 years, and I joined in February of 89. So
okay.
I joined right before you.
Okay.
At 19. And one of the things that I look back in my career, and this, even as the sports athletes can relate to this, that they teach you how to turn it on.
Yeah.
That military lifestyle. But they don't teach us how to turn it off. Right? And so you have this mindset that clicks from being this young teenager as a civilian to this military mindset. And we talked about it, how all the things, for whatever reason you join, with people join for many different reasons and circumstances. But it seems like that those things that we join for those senses get heightened.
Yeah, they get highlighted a little bit. You know, like for me, it was the aggression, the hypervigilance, and everything, and it just made it hard. Because when you get out, like for example, you know, me trying to start a family or something like that. You know, a lot of my experiences that I've been through have brought me to where I'm at right now. And, you know,
oh yeah, for sure.
Earlier today, we were talking about, you asked a great question, where's my responsibility in getting better or dealing with issues in the past? And I'm responsible across the board.
Yeah.
You know, I've had to recently tell myself, you know, I'm real disciplined. I'm strict. I'm a fusser. You know, my little relatives see me as a fussy old man. So I had to tell myself, because of this past failed relationship, maybe I'm not at the place where, you know, I'm good to be around little kids all the time.
Yeah. And I could relate to you again, because, like I said, from when I look back at my career, it was like all the stuff that I was running from as a kid and a teenager. It was like I found it all in the service,
man.
Right? But then when that was taken away, it was like, oh shit!
Yeah.
Now who am I?
Yeah, what am I going to do with all this now? I got this here, and you know, it's a blessing for me to actually have to, you know, you hear people talk about if they could do it again.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm doing. You know, because of the documentary, I've chronicled everything that's happened in my life. On purpose, I've actually gone back into relationships that were failed relationships, not to place blame on the other half, but to maybe show, okay, these are the issues that I had that you couldn't deal with, but we were both in a place where we had mental issues. and both parties would only concentrate on one person getting fixed, and that's usually me.
Right.
Because I got the military background. I'm the quote-unquote crazy veteran.
Right.
So as part of the documentary, I actually went back into relationships that had failed, because right now where I'm at this point, I know what changes I've made for the better.
Right, exactly.
For the better.
Of course.
So, for example, even in this last failed relationship, it kind of ended the same way the first one did. But what was highlighted was the other half. Okay, you're not built to be the person that supports.
Oh yeah, it takes a very
this person that has been through a lot, and that doesn't mean that you're a bad person.
Oh yeah, no,
and so.
The military said if we want you to have a wife, we would issue you one.
Oh, man. And I never had one in the military either. I was like, well, I'm glad I waited, I guess.
Family if we want you to have a family.
Yeah.
I want to touch this before we go on this first break is the Desert Storm era. Has been like one of the forgotten eras, right? I mean, so much went on. I was with you because I was, like I said, had just joined and we were training for that.
To get ready
to go.
Yeah.
And before we got ready to go, it was over. But that era was a forgotten era. What do you want to say about that Desert Storm, man? Because people don't really focus on that.
Yeah, and especially with the war going on now, and it was a lot worse than what I dealt with in Desert Storm. But like I said, 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, we lost our brother over there. And, we dealt with the chemical exposure, the oil well fires. And to this day, you have so many Persian Gulf veterans that are going through the Gulf War syndrome registry because of burn pits.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the big thing. The big issue right now still is the burn pits. Yeah. Those burn pits have affected veterans from the Desert Storm campaign on up to the present. Yeah. So especially being that, okay, Desert Storm was the 90-minute war or whatever, the 90-day war, whatever. It was like a blowout.
Right.
And it don't feel that way to me because I lost a brother over there.
Yeah.
But I think because it was a dominating campaign is a little why Desert Storm veterans are forgotten.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't go through that much. The war didn't even go on that long. And, well, you got the Air Force dropping B-52 bombs and ain't nobody want to go against that, Right. So, and that's where the opposition got smart and took the fight into the city, into the house, because they knew those big bombs couldn't be dropped. So, both sides learned from Desert Storm. But it seems like when it comes to VA and the resources, nothing's been learned going back to Vietnam. Exactly. As far as treating and caring for veterans.
We're going to talk about that veteran VA topic next after this break. This is a special edition of Trench Talk with your host. I'm Farron Dozier, retired Sergeant First Class. We'll be right back.
The Consortium of Health and Military Performance, also known as CHAMP, of the Uniformed Services University of Health and Science, known as USUHS, is conducting a study to understand a possible genetic link between sickle cell trait, known as SCT, and exercise-related events, known as EREs, such as exertional rhabdomyolysis, muscle damage, heat stroke, and or collapse. We are inviting African American men and women with sickle cell trait and their family members to participate. Participating in the study will require you to complete a health history questionnaire, a form authorizing our study physician to gather health information from you and your healthcare provider, as well as a one-time blood donation. In order to qualify for the study, you must meet the following criteria: be African American, be sickle cell trait positive, be able to read, speak, and understand English, be between the ages of 18 and 80, and currently not being treated for any mental or psychological disorders. Participation is completely voluntary, and your decision will not impact your healthcare. The results for this study are for research purposes only and are not intended to directly benefit any individual for confidentiality reasons. However, the results of this study are intended to help better shape policies and associated health risks affecting the SCT community. Participants may be compensated for their time. To join the study, or if you would like additional information regarding the study, please contact the study team by phone, area code 240-479-9514, or email sctstudy-ggg@usuhs.edu.
All right, welcome back to Trench Talk. I'm your host. I'm Farron, a.k.a. WDC. Again, thank you for listening in. If you've just seen that PSA for the CHAMP case study, that is literally my story to my military career as it came to an end. I collapsed after the 2-mile run at my ANOC course, Master Sergeant School up in Central California. I got done with the 2-mile run and I collapsed. Like I said, it was dehydration, heat stroke. I had a case called rhabdomyolysis, where the skeletal muscular disorder, where the enzymes broke down into my bloodstream, the potassium and the toxins released into the bloodstream hit my kidneys, so I was having renal failure. Have a lot of secondary health issues from that, and I had no idea that sickle cell trait was even a trigger in that until the officer that I served with, Lieutenant Adams at the time, passed me on the base one day, and he was like, "How you been?" I'm like, "Man, you don't want to know." He's like, "Tell me." So I explained to him what I was dealing with. I was depressed. I could barely walk. And he's like, "Well, you know what? Something like that happened to me where my muscles locked up." He says, "But I have sickle cell trait, so I have to drink extra water, take these vitamins." And I'm like, "Man, why does that sound familiar?" And then I remembered that I found out I had sickle cell trait in 99, my second physical in the military, 10 years. And when he said that, I got all those documents, man, and then took it to UCLA Medical Center, the rheumatologist, and she retested me and found out that, sure enough, I had sickle cell trait. 40% of my red cells were the S gene. And when we did the research, I found that military soldiers have been collapsing, athletes have been collapsing, people exercising, mountain climbing, hanging out in Denver like Ryan Clark, who lost his spleen and gallbladder, could no longer play against the Broncos from sickle cell trait with the exertion with rhabdo. And here I am, medical retired from the Army because of my disabilities, because of my depression. And again, we talk about the VA and how they have these programs for us. And I put it this way, like, if you're a circle, you fit into that circle program. If you're a square or a rectangle or any other shape,
you're in trouble.
Then you're in trouble. So you don't get into those programs because they don't fit what you're dealing with your mental anxiety or your PTSD or depression or whatever that is. Then you're forced to find your own outlet. And for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I suffered deeply. And until finding this advocacy work and then finding your purpose and finding my purpose, was I able to redirect that negative energy and worrying about my life, and now being able to talk about this conversation that almost killed me, and now having to be able to share this awareness with high schools, colleges, churches, and educate people. So that case study is literally my life experience, my life story. I found them on social media. I reached out to them and I asked what could I do to help bring awareness to this cause. So if you're a veteran out there or you have sickle cell trait, please reach out to that case study and contact them and help us figure out what's going on with our bodies and this sickle cell trait gene, which is why I'm here doing this Trench Talk. Like I said, I found out sharing my story, sharing life experiences was healing for me. Yeah. And so, you're here with me today talking about your life story. We're going to get more in depth of why you're here. But what do you want to say about the mental health programs? Like I said, for me, it's like if you don't fit, then you're forced to figure out your own way. Or I wear this band right here. This says that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And we know that number is more than that per day, but they say around 22 die for you. So what do you want to speak about the mental health aspect?
Yeah, you know what? That's a big deal because with me dealing with my PTSD, there's been so many times in Arizona where my PTSD has been used against me. You deal with people that are afraid of combat veterans or don't understand how we're built or how we live our lives, and they make decisions for us based off of what they think and how they feel.
Who are y'all talking? Who are y'all asking for these programs?
Yeah, and
they're great programs, by the way. I mean, I said there's no knock. The programs are great, but they are not universal programs.
They're not, and that's the problem. Some of the policies and procedures have been changed since Vietnam, and times have changed. There's some great programs out there. I know lately I've been running into some of the more positive programs because usually they're started by veterans,
right? Exactly,
or have something to do with veterans. The shirt I have on right now, Veterans Referring Veterans, is, Justin Clark is a veteran who started a program to give positive exposures to veterans that have business. And that's a big deal because then that allows veterans in the community to do business with veterans, which is just more comfortable a lot of times for veterans still dealing with that PTSD. Yeah. So there are a lot of great programs out there, but a lot of times I see you have so many nonprofits out there, and so many want to do good, want to help veterans. Yeah. But sometimes when you're not prepared to help a person with a lot of issues, you make it worse. Yeah. And I see a lot of that going on.
So we want to talk about, your experience that you're dealing with right now as far as the certified mails that you're sending out, right? I mean, and like you said, you're responsible for your actions. So we understand that, your part in that. Mm-hmm. But talk about what you're dealing with today as far as your own personal life after the military.
Oh man, God has me. I use social media, and like I said, I'm one of the featured veterans in the film. And even the first time, I think when I had a conversation with you, and you scheduled for an interview, it's changed my life for the positive, because it's bringing awareness to how veterans are treated, not only by the VA, but civilian agencies. Yeah. So, we got that saying in the military, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. Yeah. And, people thought I was just a hoarder. I keep all this paperwork and have, tubs of paperwork, but I knew what it was for. I didn't know exactly how I would use it, but I knew it was going to be a resource that I needed. So for example, the Phoenix VA, everybody knows about the investigations into the Phoenix VA. In 2005, my parental rights were terminated. All this information is up on my page, so the documentation can be seen by your listeners, anybody that follows me. My PTSD was used against me, and my parental rights were terminated. I had got pregnant with African American girl. She was Mormon. So our disagreement was over religion, of course. And I said, I'm not converting to being a Mormon, but, I'm the father of this child. And what I didn't know then was that this was one of the civilians that just exploited veterans or anybody else that she could use. And at the time, I didn't know that she had put 2 children up for adoption in Chicago for money. This is my ex, Alexa Snellum. And she used the order of protection against me. And I had no clue what was going on, because I'm like, you're going to put an order of protection against me because I want the baby to be a different religion. So then it come out later on, when I started doing my investigations, I figured out that she used the order of protection to block me from signing the birth certificate. Because what I didn't know was that when she got that order of protection, she convinced the state of Arizona to actually terminate my parental rights at the same time. Now, this is the kicker about this one. You remember that song, Billie Jean? The girl's not my lover. Yeah. We not even sure the child is mine. We not even sure. Right. There was no DNA test done. Right. But this is where Arizona made the mistake. Negligence and incompetence, and this is where the certified mail comes in. On the paperwork, it says child in common. How do you know? How do you know that child in common is R.C. Thompson and Alexis Snellum if there was no DNA test done? Right. See? So then, when there's adoption that goes on, there's a fair process. They're supposed to publish it in the newspaper. They're supposed to send you information to your address. Well, I never seen anything published in the newspaper. And guess what the authorities did when they used my address? I lived at 1812 North Country Club Drive, apartment 127. They left the 127 off, which means I never got that in the mail. Wow. So I never knew about it. So for 14 years, I've actually been looking for my child. Don't know whether it's a boy or girl. And I brought that case up first.
Wow.
Because that's what took me to my suicide attempt.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going to be a man that some child out there is thinking I didn't want him.
Yeah.
You know, and it took me to my suicide attempt, and I flatlined for 15 minutes. By the grace of God, I'm here to share my testimony. I was revived at the Phoenix VA Hospital, the same Phoenix VA Hospital that's under so much scrutiny. Dr. Mitchell, who still works at the Phoenix VA Hospital, revived me.
Wow.
I still remember what she said when I came to. She said, "Hey, you're back." I was gone, man. For her to say, "Hey, you're back," I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't go down the hallway walking, and she had to wait for me to come back. I was on the slab, and I was dead.
Yeah.
And my immediate follow-up appointment, and for the people that don't understand out there, I know you understand, when you have a traumatic event or you have some issues that go on and you have to be seen on an emergency basis at the VA, they set up a immediate follow-up appointment with your primary doctor. My primary doctor was Dr. Samuel Foote, the whistleblower. Everybody in Arizona calls him a hero because he's the one that testified before Congress what was going on at the Phoenix VA Hospital.
Right.
And he also testified that he denied no veteran treatment. Well, guess what, America? I'm the combat veteran that he denied treatment after my suicide attempt. What most people don't know is a doctor at the VA can fire a veteran as a patient if they don't want to treat you.
Wow.
And he fired me as a patient, and that created more issues because then I didn't have my medications because I had to wait to get another doctor for the new doctor to prescribe my medications for me. See, Dr. Sam Foote was allowing me to use marijuana before it was medical, but he was also giving me oxycodone at the same time. That's illegal in Arizona. So he had to cover his butt. This is all coming out.
Wow.
You know, I'm in the film. It's coming out on social media. I do the videos. I show the documentation. And kudos to Ruben Gallegos, Congressman Ruben Gallegos in Arizona for now, because I've had to send the certified mail, and you brought up the certified mail. So because of the violations against me, and I'm dealing with the powers that be, that all they got to say is, stop calling here, stop sending us mail, you're harassing us. No, you violated my civil rights, and the American public is going to know about it. So what I do is I get that documentation, and I'll get the names of the executive staff, and in their name, I'll send that certified mail. So if Farron Dozier is working with the agency that was supposed to help me or make sure this other agency didn't violate my civil rights, I'm going to pick it, Farron Dozier's name, and I'm going to send that certified mail. You have no clue what's coming.
Right.
But what's coming to you is proof of public corruption. Now we're talking about ethics and morals.
Right.
So where are you at when you're looking at paperwork that tells you police lied on documentation to get a conviction against a combat Marine? You're looking at paperwork that a state terminated a combat Marine's parental rights and took his child away from him. Are you going to be silent about it, or are you going to do the right thing and take it up the chain of command and say something about it? Because if you're silent about it, you're part of the problem. See,
and that's the importance of having paperwork and a paper trail. So you just can't say, I didn't see that.
We never
somebody signed for it.
We Farron, they do that all the time. Oh, Mr. Thompson, we never got it. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Here goes the tracking number. 79810001. And then
somebody signed for it.
Yeah, I was like, somebody signed for it. Well, I didn't get it. Well, that's negligence and incompetence. That's on your office. See, I learned what they were doing to me and what they were doing to other veterans. And we have a saying in the Marine Corps, adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it right back on you. So I got stacks of receipts of certified mail. Nike headquarters, they just received a certified mail.
They got one
LeBron James, y'all kneeling for us? He received the certified mail.
Wow.
You know, the late Honorable Senator John McCain. This is something I want to bring up. When people talk about, especially veterans, when we're saying, oh, these politicians aren't helping us. Mm-hmm. It's the staffers. The politician is only one person. So they're in Phoenix, they're flying to Washington, They're moving around.
But who's working for them?
Who's working for them? It's the staffers. So the staffers will get the mail and say, oh, this isn't important. Let's throw it in the trash. But then you got the persistent veteran that keeps on going. And it starts to come out in radio interviews. Yeah. And there's a reporter from London covering a story. And I'd like to thank Susan Kelly from the Aberdeen Voice. There's a documentary that they know is coming out. And then they start to get the feeling like, we can't let it be known.
Oh, yeah, because now it's going to expose everything else.
Yeah, we can't let it be known that we had something to do with it or we absolutely did nothing about it. Now, I spoke with Anthony Saucedo, who's a Navy combat veteran.
Okay.
He's one of the staffers for Ruben Gallegos, who's a combat Marine.
Okay.
So I let Ruben Gallegos know, Devil's Dog, you about to lose some points with some Marines, because once I let them know that you're more of a politician than a veteran that's going to have our six, it's going to affect your future.
Yeah.
So to be fair to his office, when I had sent the certified mail the third time, because they knew they threw it away the second time. When I sent it to them the third time, they couldn't find it. And he actually asked me, Mr. Thompson, can you resend it? Can you resend it? Because I called out that tracking number, and then they went to my Facebook page, and because I'll show the certified mail on my page after I send it. So I'm like, you can say that you didn't get it, but I've actually showed the voting public the certified mail receipt, and I only show it after I verified that somebody signed for it.
Wow.
It has that delivered and that green check mark.
Wow.
So I spoke with Anthony Saucedo a day before I came out here. I let him know, hey, I'm coming, and I'm talking to Farron, and I'm going to tell him what y'all doing to me. So they're actually opening up an investigation into why the OIG Inspector General's office didn't take my complaint against Dr. Sam Foote, who denied me treatment. Now, see, that's the office of Ruben Gallegos covering their butt. I'm going to say that just like that.
Right.
But at the same time, remember, we had the conversation yesterday. I have to allow those to go ahead and have a little pie on their face, but then fix it.
Yeah.
I give him kudos for being the first one to step up and say, okay, we're going to have to deal with this problem because it's not going anywhere.
Right.
You know, you have the politicians and they have their commercials. And I talk to veterans every day on my blog. Don't let anybody play us against each other.
Yeah.
Because in Arizona, you got Martha McSally. She's a combat veteran. She's running for office. Mm-hmm. You got Kirsten Sinema. She's been in office. She's trying to keep her job. She's got family members that are veterans.
Right.
And see, that's the play on it. Right. So Martha McSally has veterans speaking for her. Kirsten Sinema has veterans speaking for her, and they speaking against each other.
Right. That doesn't work.
So what about all the other veterans that don't have those contacts or those outlets?
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back because there's the last 15 minutes. I want you to talk about the part about this false felony that you're dealing with that's just impacting your life in more than one area. So we're going to take a quick break. This is Trench Talk. I'm your host, Farron Dozier, Sergeant First Class, retired. We'll be right back.
The Consortium of Health and Military Performance, also known as CHAMP, of the Uniformed Services University of Health and Science, known as USUHS, is conducting a study to understand a possible genetic link between sickle cell trait, known as SCT, and exercise-related events, known as EREs, such as exertional rhabdomyolysis, muscle damage, heat stroke, and or collapse. We are inviting African-American men and women with sickle cell trait and their family members to participate. Participating in the study will require you to complete a health history questionnaire, a form authorizing our study physician to gather health information from you and your healthcare provider, as well as a one-time blood donation. In order to qualify for the study, you must meet the following criteria: be African American, be sickle cell trait positive, be able to read, speak, and understand English, be between the ages of 18 and 80 and currently not being treated for any mental or psychological disorders. Participation is completely voluntary, and your decision will not impact your health care. The results for this study are for research purposes only and are not intended to directly benefit any individual for confidentiality reasons. However, the results of this study are intended to help better shape policies and associated health risks affecting the SCT community. Participants may be compensated for their time. To join the study, or if you would like additional information regarding the study, please contact the study team by phone, area code 240-479-9514, or email sctstudy-ggg@usuhs.edu.
All right, welcome back to Trench Talk. I'm your host and moderator, Farron, a.k.a. WDC. Thank you for listening in to this special episode of Trench Talk Original. All right, so we got my man, Richard R.C. here, combat veteran Marine, talking about his life experience before, during, and after service. And there's one topic I want to hit, man, these last few minutes is after all this paper is said and done and delivered, and you get your results, like what are you looking for in the end?
In the end, that's a great question, because the Arizona NAACP was going to get involved, and they were going back and forth with me for a while, talking about helping me. Scheduled a couple appointments, but they canceled them. But what they didn't realize they were teaching me terminology. So when they were talking to me, "Oh, Mr. Thompson, what we're going to have to do for you is called legal redress." I said, okay. I got the phone with her. I pull up legal redress. I'm studying it, yeah. So, civilian law enforcement, 2014, I was homicidal and suicidal. I called 911 for help. Asked them to help me get in the hospital. VA was already crowded. They told me to do it this way. So I called 911. I tell them I'm a homicidal and suicidal combat veteran. But I also got information on some illegal activity as far as guns. And this involved the person that was making the threats to me. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only way I knew to do it was, okay, I got to call the police, because if I react, then I get in trouble.
Right.
There was stolen guns in a series police lockup, number 0214-000051. Okay? That was sold to this felon from a Mesa resident in Arizona, and nothing was done about it. It crossed state lines. Now, the only reason I bring that up is I kept that one close to my chest. Because as part of the documentary, I wanted to show that if a black man does the right thing and reports to the police, they will throw it in his face.
Uh-oh.
And that's what they did to me. The gun was just destroyed because nobody ever picked it up out of the series police lockup. I called them last week. The owner of the gun never came to pick it up because he knows he sold it to this black felon by the name of Glenda Coleman, who also goes by Glenda Sherman, Glenda Dotson. She ran a nonprofit and kind of played me a little bit, but I played myself because that's when I was still under my drug addiction.
Right.
And that's part of what helped me get clean, because I'm like, she's doing this to other veterans.
Yeah.
Other people are doing this to other veterans. I let this happen to myself. I can't be mad at them while I'm still in this mindset.
Right.
So when there was a situation where the civilian law enforcement when they came, the Mesa police officer, he was a Hispanic Marine. He told me to man the F up and left me there. So that just made me worse. I drove around the corner. I said, I'm going to find another set of police, and I'm going to try and get help because I don't want to hurt myself.
Right.
I found another set of police, pulled in. They were dealing with the scene. Officer Calderon, I didn't know his name at the time. I'm standing up there by my door looking at him, and he just comes over cussing at me. "What the F are you doing? What you want to do?" I say, "I'm homicidal and suicide. I need help. I'm a combat veteran." "Get the F out of here." So I sit back in my car, and I start arguing back with him because I'm tired of him cussing at me.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You know what? You're effing going to jail." I said, okay. So I already had my car in drive getting ready to leave. When I went to put it in park, he was looking at my plates, but he was standing from a distance off, and he screams, Oh, he tried to hit an officer.
Oh.
And I already knew in my head, I said, I'm about to get beat down.
Wow.
I just put my hands up on the steering wheel. He socked me 3 times, flush in the mouth. They yanked me out of the car, slammed me down. Now, I'm going to show you something. This is why I wore shorts. I'm a dark black man. You see that blood under my knee?
Yeah.
That's from the torn meniscus. I got it on this other side, too. See, you can see the blood under my knee.
Yeah.
And the 2 torn meniscus never got fixed because VA didn't want to operate on it because they knew it was some legal stuff going on with the police. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to get a lawyer and try to sue. Mm-hmm. I contacted Senator Bob Worsley's office. Miss Maureen Williams, the top aide, the staffer for Senator Bob Worsley. Now, just like I tell your listeners and the people that follow me, all the pictures and documentation up on the page. We had the conversation this morning. Yeah. Miss Maureen Williams is the one that took the pictures of me standing in front of the court and the artwork that I did for a boss because they said they were going to help me with this case. Well, they never helped me. Mm-hmm. But I had the pictures and the artwork as proof of the meeting. Well, what happened, Mesa Police, after they beat me up and put me in the hospital, that picture's up on my page too, they their internal affairs was in touch with the lawyer that I paid for. So they going back and forth. Their internal affairs has my address and phone number from my lawyer. My lawyer comes to me. Pierce Sargent III was my lawyer. He says, Mr. Thompson, nothing's going to happen with the lawsuit, but you're free to live your life. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was fed up with Arizona. I moved to Ceres, California, 1600 Nadine Avenue. That's where I live. But Arizona's home. I got homesick. Yeah. So I moved back to Arizona. When I moved back to Arizona, I moved back to the same city, Mesa, where the police had ignored me. Mm-hmm. Met a new girl, had a girlfriend, lived in Mesa for several months. Nothing ever happened. I moved to Tempe, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And I bring that up because I moved out of Mesa's jurisdiction. Okay. I didn't know this at the time. As soon as I moved out the jurisdiction, I was arrested by U.S. Marshals. I didn't know what was going on. This is when I lived at 1925 East Hayden Lane in Tempe, apartment 215. All this, you know, it makes a difference because I'm chronicling everything in detail. I was frying chicken that day. I was getting ready to go to the store and get a soda. I'm like, oh, my chicken almost done. Let me get a soda. I'm ready to get down. And I hear, get down. I got machine guns and 9mm pointed at my head, man. And I'm thinking, what the hell did I do? Right. And I'm like, I can't think of nothing. And they put mitts on my hands, and they put the shackles around my ankles. I said, why y'all doing that? Oh, we heard you in the weapons. Oh, God. But get this. One of the agents was like, yeah, you're the Marine Corps. What's your favorite weapon? I said, if you think you're going to get me to talk about weapons right now so you can put it down that I have a knowledge of weapons so you can use that against me, not going to happen, dog. Just put me in the car. And so they're driving me. I'm like, what agency? They wouldn't say now. I kept, what agency? He said, Mesa. As soon as he said Mesa, I already knew what was going on. So they run me through the system, take me to court and everything, put me on probation. Maricopa County Courts. They lied about my medical records because I was getting ready. At every step, I was telling them I want to take this to trial. Right. They wouldn't let me. So I went through a mental health Rule 11 hearing, and I found a trick that the public defenders have been doing to veterans. When I first started doing this, you know, I jumped up and said, "Look how Arizona's doing black veterans." Right. But then, when I started to look into the paperwork and see how they were doing things, it killed my heart because I said, wait a minute. They're doing this to black, white, Mexican veterans, male and female. So the process that the public defender that I had, Eileen Locks, used was at the state level, you can send for medical records without a signature. Mm-hmm. We're talking about HIPAA and American Disabilities Act. Right. So you can send for medical records at the state level without a signature. At the federal level, you cannot do that. Right. It's a violation of 7332 code. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a fair trial. I didn't have no fair process. So after that, you know, they're telling me, oh, we can give you 2 years. We can give you, and they were scaring me. They were trying to break me down. I ended up sitting in jail for 2 months. I had one visit while I was in jail, and it was from producer Michael Butler of No Way Out Films, who's doing it. And he came there, he's like, yeah, man, we're going to start filming again. Are you ready? And I'm looking, I'm like, brother, do you know where I'm at? You know, I got the receding hairline, so my hair was going nappy. I look like Bozo the Clown, and I'm depressed, you know.
But before we get out of here, what do you want to resolve? Tell the listeners, how do you need this false felony? It's impacting where you can live. It's impacting your life. You call it's a false felony. So what do you need done to have this removed?
That false felony needs to be removed, and that's why I'm using social media. The one of the documents that showed Mesa Police had my address was never scanned into the system. So I'm the only one that has that document.
So the document, you have one document that has your address.
And one says transient.
So the document that has your address was never scanned into their system, but they mailed it to me. And I kept it.
But
yet the other paper says yours was a transient with no address.
The other paper says transient with no address. That's the one that was scanned in. So if a reporter was to call Mesa Police Records and say, we need to pull up this document with the address, they don't have it.
But you have it.
But I have it. So how can I be a transient and resident at the same time? And how is it that I'm the only one with that document? The internal affairs officer sat it on his desk and never scanned it in. One of the employees told me that. So it keeps me from getting housing. It keeps me from getting jobs. And the biggest thing with me is, guess what? I love my Phoenix VA. Yeah. That's the reason why I'm alive. And the mitigating circumstances that I have made my PTSD worse cannot be blamed on the Phoenix VA. Right. That's the civilian agencies that call themselves wanting to do stuff for veterans and work for veterans, but it's just exploitation.
And to have that document overturned would be exposing all of the
agencies that let it go by with the blind eye and never addressed it. And then
one piece of paper.
And then it's going to bring up the question, how many other veterans have been done this way?
Wow.
We're talking Pandora's box.
And you ready to be responsible for that box?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I've been kicking that box around with a big smile on my face. Yeah. You know, I've been kicking around. And you know, like I said, you're one of my biggest supporters. Kendra Clay, my girlfriend, my Uncle James Hambrick, Jennifer Hambrick. If it wasn't for them, there were points in time where I would have quit. You know, my Marine Corps mentor, the Don Kamathi Jijaga. You know, he was one of the California Veterans of the Year. Yeah. You know, you the Fontana.
Yeah, I was
California Veteran of the Year. So, man, I am in great company. God loves me because I'm in great company. So,
well, I appreciate you for coming all the way, man, from Arizona. You blessed us on the Sports Collective TV show today, man, with the Rocks as
fun
as a gift, man. So we appreciate that. And again, thank you for being here on the Trench Talk and helping me reignite this show, man, because there's a lot of conversations that need to be had, needs to be addressed, and I feel responsible for that platform, man. So I thank you for coming here and being able to share and talk about your military experience before, during, and after service, man, and even how this is all affecting you today. So.
Yeah, and
I appreciate you.
It's moving in the positive. I'm able to see the change going forward just by looking at my page and seeing the comments that people make, and like I said, man, the platform that you're giving me is just tremendous. I wouldn't have got it anywhere else. So
cool
God
deal.
bless you.
Well, thank you. All right, this is the Trench Talk episode right here, Morris Media Live. If you want to be a supporter of the show, hit me up, trenchtalk.us. Let me know. We're always looking for sponsors, advertisers to keep this show alive and this platform open for veterans to have their conversations. So make sure you follow me, Instagram, Twitter at IMWDC, also at Trench Talk US, and also all on Facebook, social media like that. So I appreciate you for your time. Shouts out to you, man. I appreciate you for coming through, man, and hanging out with me.
Hooah!
And we out of here. Shout us out.
the Consortium of Health and Military Performance, also known as CHAMP, of the Uniformed Services University of Health and Science, known as USUHS, is conducting a study to understand a possible genetic link between sickle cell trait, known as SCT, and exercise-related events, known as EREs, such as exertional rhabdomyolysis, muscle damage, heat stroke, and or collapse. We are inviting African American men and women with sickle cell trait and their family members to participate. Participating in the study will require you to complete a health history questionnaire, a form authorizing our study physician to gather health information from you and your healthcare provider, as well as a one-time blood donation. In order to qualify for the study, you must meet the following criteria: be African American, be sickle cell trait positive, be able to read, speak, and understand English, be between the ages of 18 and 80, and currently not being treated for any mental or psychological disorders. Participation is completely voluntary, and your decision will not impact your health care. The results for this study are for research purposes only and are not intended to directly benefit any individual for confidentiality reasons. However, the results of this study are intended to help better shape policies and associated health risks affecting the SCT community. Participants may be compensated for their time. To join the study, or if you would like additional information regarding the study, please contact the study team by phone, area code 240-479-9514, or email sctstudy-ggg@usuhs.edu.